Your seats, we're about to get started. Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for this Bossier Parish School Board Town Hall meeting. We also want to thank our virtual audience watching right now via our live stream. And just a reminder that if you would like to go back and watch this at any time, you can on Bossier Schools YouTube channel. My name is Sonia Bales. I am the Public Relations Liaison for Bossier Schools, and I'm going to be serving as your moderator for the Town Hall. We greatly appreciate the time that you are investing and learning more about what Bossier Schools will be asking voters to consider on April 30th. There will be 3 propositions on the ballot that affect every student, every school, and every teacher. And note that I did say renewals. They are not new. Each of these millages is for a 10-year term. They have been on the rolls for more than 20 years, and they fund our daily core operations. These propositions fund needs, not wants. There are no frills. And as our friend and Student of the Year, Christian Willis, explains, this is what they represent. Ever, 5th grade too. You'd think she was almost 18. But we appreciate Christian Willis very much for breaking that down for us. You know, as taxpayers and community leaders, you demand results, and rightly so. And that's why before we take an even deeper dive into these 3 propositions, I want to give you a quick overview of your school system, because this is your school system that your tax dollars fund. You know, we are ranked as one of the top performing school systems in the state. And Bossier Schools is the fastest growing public school district in all of North Louisiana, number 1. And we are the 2nd fastest growing in the state, behind only Ascension Parish. Our students are graduating from Bossier Schools better prepared than they ever have before. They can further their education and attend the universities of their choosing. They can work anywhere they desire. They graduate from Bossier Schools ready to compete. The senior class of 2021 earned more than $31.4 million in scholarships in TOPS funds. $31.4 million. And last year, our students 1,200 advanced placement credit classes, and they acquired nearly 5,800 hours of dual enrollment. Talk about a huge savings to parents. If anybody has ever paid college tuition and you have a student entering college, in many cases as a sophomore, having already acquired that many college credits, you know how much of a savings being able to not have to pay your child's freshman year equates to? Not to mention our employers also. When our students are receiving dual enrollment credits, they're also obtaining industry-based certifications. This is valuable to our employers because they're looking for someone who is highly skilled. And if they don't have those skills, they have to pay for them to receive those certifications. And Bossier Schools students are being able to walk onto the jobs with those very valuable credentials. So it's a huge savings also to our employers in Bossier Parish. Also, our student graduation rate is at an all-time record high in Bossier Parish, 91.2%. That means more students than ever before are staying in school, they're walking across the stage, and they are being handed their diplomas. And I think this is so impressive. Bossier Schools is among only 28% of all school systems in Louisiana that showed actual growth in student performance during the pandemic, according to last year's spring assessments that our students took. It is no wonder that we're continually seeing our student enrollment increase. Families recognize what Bossier Schools has to offer. So what makes the difference? I'd say it's our teachers. Our teachers have the greatest impact on student success, but it goes far beyond just spring assessments, test scores, a child learning their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. You know, good teachers shape and mold the next generation, our future. Just think about your own favorite teachers and the impact that they had on you. I know that we all have favorite teachers that easily come to mind. They helped motivate you to become what you are today, who you are. No other profession affects all of society's children the way that teaching does. But don't take my word for it. Take it from our kids.
I never thought school until I couldn't.
It's much easier when you have somebody talking to you and explaining it to you, and then when you take that away, you don't have that security blanket.
Since the pandemic, I have a newfound appreciation for being with my classmates in a classroom being taught by a teacher.
If I didn't have all those teachers along the way, I might not like school as much as I did right now, and I might not have the success I did.
So I work with magical people, and we teach incredible every single day, and to feed into those kids and show them that they can learn anything they want to learn. They can be anything they want to be, that they have the power to do anything they want to do.
So glad that I came to this school. Teaching is one of the most important careers in the whole wide world.
Teachers, we love our job. This is our calling, honestly. We're truly nothing without our students.
Teachers provide a very conducive environment to learning this material.
The public truly realized how much we invest in our truly so that we get that positive students.
I owe my success to my teachers. They have made me to the person.
Teachers are difference makers.
And they're preparing us difference makers too.
We are the
And the doers.
Thank you, Miss Martin.
Thank you for the patience. Thank you, Miss Pierce.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Brown.
Thank you, and you make me feel happy.
Thank you, Miss Johnston.
Thank you, Miss Keith and Miss Lineski.
Thank you so much for
Bossier Parish teachers are difference makers. And we're asking for your support of these 3 renewals to maintain our current funding so we can continue to deliver results for our students and for all of Bossier Parish. Let's break down the ballot and delve into what voters will be considering on April 30th. The renewal of these 3 millages totals 47.19 mills. That equates to about $48.5 million each year. Beginning with Proposition 1, it funds a portion of the existing salaries and benefits earned by nearly 2,900 educators and support personnel. And when I talk about support personnel, these employees include our paraprofessionals in our classrooms, our school resource officers, our librarians, our bus operators, our school secretaries, and so many others that support student learning and their well-being. Proposition 2 funds and maintenance of our 45 schools and facilities, which, as Christian told us, range from new construction all the way to nearly 100 years old, older than her great-grandmother. The majority of our schools were actually built during the baby boom era, so the average age is about 50 to 60 years old. And you know, when things age and, get a little older, it costs more to maintain them. Things tend to break. And we have a remarkably accomplished maintenance staff that stays on top of the electrical systems, the plumbing, the painting, the flooring, and the list goes on and on. This millage also pays to keep the lights on. It pays for utilities at all of our schools and all of our facilities, as well as the existing salaries and benefits earned by our maintenance staff that I mentioned. And I think that this is very important to note. Our maintenance department has been operating on the same budget for the last 14 years, despite the fact that Bossier Schools has built new schools during that time and added even more new classroom wings. That is a huge testament to our maintenance department. That is all under Proposition 2. And then we go to Proposition 3, which is the largest of them all, but every penny of Proposition 3 goes toward paying our teachers' current salaries and benefits. And I don't think I have to tell you that Bossier Schools is blessed to have the best. Bossier Parish currently has 1,558 classroom teachers, 1,486 of whom are certified. 98% of Bossier Parish teachers were ranked highly effective last year. That is extraordinary. And a third of them have a master's degree or even higher. Even beyond that, we have 95 teachers and employees who have national board certifications. They are highly effective. They are highly educated. So as you can see, there are no frills with these three millages. They are simply to maintain the status quo, what's already in place. Yet they are, again, critical to the continued operations to Bossier Schools. As mentioned a little bit earlier, we are the fastest growing public school district in all of North Louisiana. And the U.S. Census Bureau projects that Bossier Parish as a whole is only going to continue to grow. So in turn, Bossier Schools' current enrollment of approximately 22,700 students is anticipated to increase to nearly 25,000 students by 2025. I don't know about you, but that's going to come sooner rather than later. And when we have more students, that means recruiting even more new teachers, while at the same time trying to retain the highly effective educators that we already have. By renewing these millages, we can at least offer them financial certainty. You know, we also know that education is a key area of focus for our military. We are blessed to have Barksdale Air Force Base right here in our backyard. I know many of you in the audience have served, and we appreciate your service. Well, the military looks at public schools when making those critical basing decisions. Financial stability is very important. And also, those of you who work in the private sector and business, you know that a good school system plays a critical role when it comes to economic development. When businesses look for a place to locate, the most important factors that they consider are safety, the quality of schools, and if they can find a highly skilled workforce for their labor needs. Bossier Schools not only ranks highly in academics, but also for fiscal responsibility. We recognize this is not our money. This is your money. This is taxpayer dollars, and we are entrusted to use them wisely. And to give you a few examples of how we are being good stewards of your tax dollars, because of sound money management, including the maintenance of a 12% reserve, Bossier Schools has one of the highest bond ratings of school boards in the state. That in turn has saved taxpayers substantial dollars over the years. Case in point, our high S&P global bond rating also enabled our district to refinance 2012 and 2013 bonds recently, which will result in nearly $2 million in savings to the taxpayers of Bossier Parish. And kudos to our financial department because they have earned the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting for 29 years running by the Government Finance Officers Association based on Bossier Schools' comprehensive annual financial report. We just received that news recently. Congratulations to our finance department. We are especially proud to have been named the 2020 Business of the Year by the Bossier Chamber of Commerce. By opening our doors on that first day in August 2020 for that school year and allowing students to return to school for face-to-face instruction, that in turn enabled our community to get back to business. So critical. Again, our community and our economy. Meanwhile, I know that you all watched the news and you saw what was happening elsewhere in the nation. Many districts kept their doors closed and they never returned for that school year. They didn't go back the entire year, and students learned virtually. At the same time, 100% virtual learning platform that at one time a tenth of our students were enrolled in. Bossier Schools' virtual learning program quickly became a model that was replicated by school districts across the state. We also want to thank the Bossier Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors for passing a resolution to support these tax renewals by a unanimous vote. Thank you to the Bossier Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And also just last week, we received the unanimous endorsement of the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee. We hope now that we can count on yours too. You know, each of you plays a very important role in Bossier Schools' success. As residents, as taxpayers, you are helping prepare children for their future and for our own prosperity as a parish. Good schools and a safe community, those are keys to a community's success. And in Bossier Parish, we are blessed to have both. And that in turn contributes to increased economic development, better jobs, a stronger housing market, a better overall economy, and let's not forget, a higher quality of life. We enjoy that here in Bossier. And by keeping Bossier Schools moving forward, we are putting the children that we educate on the road to success. Every student, every school, every teacher. The renewal of these three propositions affect the very future of Bossier Parish. And we ask you to consider that when voting on April 30th. At this time, we would be happy to answer any questions that you may have pertaining to these three renewals that are going to be on the ballot. We do have key leaders of our team throughout the audience here ready to answer those questions. We do want you to know that we offered the opportunity for questions to be submitted electronically over the last week, but none were received. So at this time, the floor is open for questions from the live audience, and you can approach the microphone. You did not have to fill out a card. We just ask that the questions pertain to these three renewals. Yes, sir.
How you doing, ma'am? My name's David Rogers. I live out in Benton. I had two girls that went to the school system and everything like that. But 20 years ago, you said that is when they started. And I've lived here that long. And, you know, every year we've watched our taxes go up. Now, I always like how usually a politician or something always says it's for the children or it's for the elderly or something like that. But you got to understand, you cannot keep taxing people. When you have a renewal, that means that's a tax that was supposed to drop off the rolls, not keep going. So really, when you keep saying it's a tax, you know, it doesn't increase your taxes. Well, it does, because if it doesn't roll off the rolls and you keep renewing it, your taxes did go up. The way you would have saw it is your taxes would have went down like they should have. Now, I've lived here long enough to know that 20 years ago, the schools were in business. And I've seen all these come up, and you're right, we are growing faster than anybody else. I mean, I live out in Benton, and they've had so many subdivisions go out there. They've built so many schools. And it is correct, you know, that people do look at schools when they're going into areas and everything. But Louisiana, we lose a lot of people going out of state because Louisiana is not a business-friendly, you know, state. It isn't. No, not compared to Texas or some of the other ones. But we can't keep, you know, go on. You can always come up and you can use children in your videos to say, you know, we've got to have this. You bring the financials out. You're going to say, well, we've got to have this to make, you know, payroll, you know, the benefits. If it's like mine and everything else, every year it goes up. I mean, cost of health care, dental, and everything, it all goes up. But people have eventually got to say, you know, like my house, when I bought it, the taxes were pretty low. Now they've almost doubled since I've lived here. I want to know, when you say the taxes won't go up, if they increase my property value again, won't that make the taxes go up again? I mean, you're taking so much out of the value. So if, say, the house is worth $100,000 and you're getting so much taxes, and they say, well, you know, your neighborhood has grown quite a bit. It's now worth $150,000. Well, your taxes went up. You know, and then you're paying more in school tax, you're paying more in everything. I know this might be an unpopular thing because there's not that many people here. And having it at 5 o'clock when most people are getting off work was probably a mistake too. Because most people are like, you're having in the voting on April 30th. Well, that's off schedule, so you're probably going to get maybe 10,000 voters if it's like anything else. So to me, it's like always when you're trying to get something through that may be unpopular or for especially people paying taxes, you always have a vote not on the current schedule, not when we're electing a president or something else, or a governor, when everybody's coming in, when you have 90% of the voters coming in. It's always when we're off schedule, when you've got just maybe 10% of the voters coming in. Now, I know you keep harping on, you have like 3 times, you said it, the video said it, you said it again on, the schools. We've got to have this, we've got to have that. But eventually, I've worked in government most of my life. I was in the military and I work for the government now. You can give the government 90% of your funds. They'll find a way to spend every nickel of it and then ask for more. There's got to be a point. We have people, I know we say, we've got all these schools opening up. Out my way, they got a new high school. They got new elementary schools, and that's a lot more students. But they're building all these housing divisions. And I know that's bringing in more revenue too, but you've got to teach more, so you've got to hire more teachers. But we're not an endless supply of cash, and that's why I say again, 20 years ago, schools were running. How'd you make it back then? It's always at the last second, here we come again. We can't make payroll if we don't have Proposition 1. We can't keep the lights on and pay the maintenance workers if we don't have Proposition 2. Now, one of the things I like that you pointed out, your maintenance division, you said, has not raised tax or hasn't had to raise their budget in 14 years. Why is it they could do it and nobody else could?
Because they have over 10 people less than their department is allocated for at one point.
So those people are working harder and probably working overtime, which means you're paying more in the long run anyway, usually. I don't know how many maintenance workers there is. Do you know the total number?
Mr. Roger, how many maintenance workers do you have in your department?
Currently, you're about 45. We're usually around 55, 58, around there.
Okay. But the thing I'm trying to hit home as is the values of our property keep going up because it is the fastest growing, but we're also the 4th highest tax parish in the state. How many people remember the casinos came in? Oh, you know what? We're going to improve schools. We're going to pay for roads. You don't have to worry. We've got some of the worst roads out there. I know it has nothing to do with the school tax, but how many times have a politician came back, well, we got to do this, we got to do that, but they always spend the money on something else. We always have a knee-jerk reaction. Well, we got to do this, we got to do that. I'm sympathetic with it, but I don't want to pay it. I don't think anybody wants to pay it. There is a due cost, but how much, like you said, we're the fastest growing. And if the current money, I know because our property values keep going up, you are getting more money. Would you say that's untrue?
Chief Financial Officer is here, and I'll let her answer that question for you.
Yes, sir, you are correct. More revenue does come in, but as you also pointed out, we also have additional expenses. With more student base, a higher student base, more teachers we need, we've grown the schools, and things like that. So you're correct, the revenues have gone up, the expenses have gone up as well. I will point out that we say every dollar goes to cover teacher salaries. I will tell y'all this does not near cover all of our teacher salaries. Teacher salary and benefits in the general fund are over $200 million. And so this $48 million does help, very significant, and it's very, very significant to our budget. But the amount of teacher salaries and benefits that we're covering in the general fund are over $200 million. So
let me ask you this, since you've got all the financials,
Yes,
I know
sir.
in front of me, I know you've studied it, and that's probably your full-time job. What happens if you don't get the revenue? What's the school board going to do?
Proposition 1 and 3 equate to 448 teaching positions. So if Proposition 1 and 3 were to fail, that is something that the board has to evaluate at that point, that we've lost revenue equivalent to 448 positions, which is about a third of our teachers.
I heard that during the video, but what overall I know you've got to have contingency plans already in effect. What is your contingency plan if these don't go into effect?
Currently, we don't have a contingent. We have to evaluate and make those decisions. That would be that would be detrimental to the district, I think. Now, I did hear you say that we do continue to raise taxes. I do want to point out that last year when we had the reassessment and your property values were reassessed, the board did vote not to roll forward our millage. And so the taxes went down about $1 million that year because we did try to address the fact that property values were rolling up and we didn't want to roll forward those millage. So I think the board has tried to be considerate of that as well in the past.
And that was for 1 year?
No, that's moving forward. We didn't roll forward the higher tax rate and the millage for the life of those mills.
But what about all the new construction? Are they getting hit by it immediately?
The ad valorem?
Yes.
Yes, at the point that new construction goes into effect, when it has an assessed value, it does start paying taxes at that point.
Right. So when did you level it out saying, all right, your property tax went up 10,000 or whatever, we're not taxing on it? What year did you do that?
We don't assess anything.
Oh, no, what I'm saying is, we pay taxes on our property on the value of the property.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if our taxes go up, our property value goes up, so you're saying if my property went up $10,000, it would not increase 1 penny in school taxes off that?
Okay, so every few years, the assessor reassesses your property, correct?
Correct.
When the assessor reassesses your property, what they roll out to the district is they say that we'll drop your millage down, and that keeps your revenue the same, where you're collecting the same revenue because your millage has dropped down. The board at that point has the choice of whether to roll forward the millage rate that we've been collecting, which would increase the revenue, or we can keep the assessed rate that they've told us that would keep the revenue level. In 2020, the board voted to keep the revenue level, and we did not roll forward a higher rate. So that levelized that down during that reassessment year. We only get to make that determination during reassessment years.
So in 2020, what about before that?
I can't answer for that. I wasn't here that year. But I can go back and look up that information if you want me to.
Yeah, if you could just put it on the page, that would be good and everything like that.
Yes, sir. We can go back and look up that information, and you're welcome to call. The assessor would have the same information. They're actually the ones that assess our property values.
Most of the people in the government that I go see to ask questions or I've left notes, they never get back to you.
I can promise you if you call me, I'll get back to you.
Okay. But like I said, I've been out to the courthouse, to the parish people and everything, even the scoreboard people,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never got a response back.
Yes, sir.
It's one of those things that, if I'm looking at the performance of the people that I'm trying to get in contact with to see, you don't get responses. So to me, I don't have any confidence in you, using the money correctly. So how am I going to think that you're going to do the right thing now? No.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I understand, and like I said, everyone that reaches out to me for questions, I do try to make sure I take that time. I think that that's something that all of our leadership does. We do try to answer those questions. If you will reach out to me, I'm definitely willing to sit down and discuss it with you. Some of it I am limited on because we don't assess property.
Right.
We're not the assessor. But if you want to come sit down, yes, sir, we can definitely talk about it.
Now, you said you've been in the job just for probably, it sounds like 2 years or whatever?
Yes, sir.
Is yours a new position or is that?
No, sir. The CFO was here before. The prior CFO retired and I took his position.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. Well, that's all the questions I have. But like I said, nobody wants their taxes to go up. I know, like I said, with the government, I've seen over the years, you can give them as much as you want, they'll spend every nickel.
Yes, sir.
And they'll always want more, and it's always, like I said, it's for the children, it's for the elderly, it's always something. And like I said, we just can't keep giving out money for something that was supposed to expire. And then we come, and I know you've made good, arguments and everything that we've got to do this. We can't make payroll. We can't make, the light bill and everything. But like I said, what is your plan if it doesn't? Most likely, I'm probably not in the majority, but there's a chance it doesn't go through because, like I said, you're only going to get about 10% of the people that vote come out that day. So like I said, it always, everybody's usually got a contingency plan. What are we going to do if it doesn't go through?
That is something we'll have to sit down and evaluate at that point.
Now,
Yes, sir.
Now, with the tax renewal, on April 30th, I mean, you've already collected, I mean, it comes around again in December. I mean, what would you do? Because then how soon would you not be collecting the extra millage, I guess?
2 of the taxes expire on the 2023 roll, and 1 expires on the 2025.
Okay, so basically you've got another year and another 2 years, another 3 years on one.
Yes, sir.
Before they expire and everything.
We wanted to keep them together to save the taxpayers because we have to pay the election expenses. So it's been historical that we do the 3 together so that we can make sure we're not doing an additional election and additional expenses there.
Why don't we do it during one of the major elections? That way it's all together and nobody has to worry about coming out for these special, because I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I've been here long enough that we have a special election for something and nobody shows up. I'll go in there, because I vote every time. I go in there and they're like, hey, we've only had, 10% of the people come out. It's been a ghost town.
Yes, sir.
Why is that? Why don't we do it during the major ones?
The group that came together, this is what we felt was the best date.
I mean, it's best day for you, but like you said, you got to pick up extra expenses. If you do it during the regular time when everybody comes out, what I'm saying is, looking forward, why don't you do that?
Yes, sir.
Because to me, it's like, it's one of those things you're just trying to slide in, nobody's paying attention.
That's one reason we wanted to do this town hall. We want to make sure that y'all know we are trying to make sure that we're aware and that we're answering the questions y'all have. So we're definitely not trying to slide it through without letting y'all know. We're trying to make sure everyone's aware of what we have on the ballot.
Again, like I said, there's nobody here. I mean, you had it at 5 o'clock when everybody's getting off work. I mean, most of the people in this room work for the school system. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we do want to also remind everyone that this is being live streamed, so if it is going to be up indefinitely for anyone to watch the presentation as well as to hear the questions and to be able to still ask us questions. We started this fairly early, considering that we are still over 2 months away from this election. You have a question, sir?
Good evening. My name is Quincy Gardner. I am a parent and community stakeholder. My son is a sophomore at Airline High School, where he's in ROTC and band, and senior cadet at Civil Air Patrol, working on his pilot's license. I wanted to thank the superintendent for extending the invitation and being sure that we have this so the community can know what's going on. I want to just say I'm thankful for the information that you have given us. My coach used to say, it costs to be the best. And we can see from districts who don't pay and who can't pay what those results are. And they're at the bottom of the list. We have one of the safest transportation departments in the state. I don't know, I'm pretty sure you guys knew that. We are in top, 10, 15 school districts in the state. There's no other facility like Bristol in the state or the region, maybe in the lower parts of the United States. I have talked to several presidents of universities and recruiters from Louisiana, Texas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Florida, Delaware, and Colorado that says Bossier students come prepared and ready to graduate on time. For parents, that means less money out of our pockets. So we have to look at the overall picture when we're looking at this bond proposal. I commend this district for always being available. I can contact administrators, teachers, and principals when I have an issue. And again, it costs to be the best. These are for Sonia. These instead of the others. Won't be able to stay for the meeting, but hey, as a parent, I will say, I'm glad I'm in Bossier City. I've given up money to keep my son here, and as a community partner, you're easy to partner with. Have a great night.
Thank you very much. You did bring up our transportation department, and I would love to be able to also commend them for being nationally ranked among as one of the top bus fleets transportation in the nation. Number 15 out of 13,000 plus districts. Again, that is because of sound fiscal management. And so we thank you, Colonel Haddon, for everything that you do, and to all of our bus operators who drive for us. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Johnson, and excited to hear that we're finally in some areas ranked in the top. So I am Lisa Johnson. I am the president of the Bossier Chamber of Commerce, but I think it's even more important for folks to know that are watching online and here in the audience that I'm a native of Bossier City and Bossier Parish, and I am a product of the Bossier Parish public school system, graduate of Bossier High School, and chose to stay here in my hometown to make a difference and choose my career and raise my family here. So I think that's a testament for many of us that have chosen to do that. Back with my professional hat on, as was mentioned earlier in the earlier statements, the Bossier Chamber of Commerce proudly does support these tax renewals. It's absolutely critical that we maintain and sustain the great product of this future workforce development that is coming out of our Bossier Parish school system, and that we continue to support our public school system. There's not very many parishes that are left that are strongly public school system only. I mean, this is our education system. This is our future. These are our children. And as the representative of the business community, we support you 100% in these renewals, and we ask that the public do so as well. We also have the backing of our members of our businesses, and in Bossier Parish, the taxes are paid approximately, or 70%, the businesses pay those because they pay all sorts of inventory tax, ad valorem tax, and things of that nature. I have with me in the audience, so it's not just school officials that are here, but we have many representatives of the business community here in the audience with us, including my current chairman of the board with Centerpoint Energy, Eric Barkley, and our past chairman of the board, Patrick Gillette, with Barksdale Federal Credit Union, and many others. So we are here to stand in concert with the public school system in doing this. It was mentioned about Barksdale Air Force Base. We, along with our other partners in the military community, and I think it's important for everyone to know, and our other partners with the Military Affairs Council, with Barksdale Forward, our Military Relations Committee, and the SLO, which is the military connected person on the base, and our military connected individual that we have that works within the school system. We've been instrumental in helping to maintain and sustain our number one economic indicator, besides the school system, which is actually number one, but the Barksdale Air Force Base and our military families that are there. And what I want to share with you tonight that I'm sure many of you are not aware is that in December 17th, 2021, from the Air Force, and we learned this from our commander of the 2nd Bomb Wing in a meeting, and here I'm looking at the news release, that the spouse of the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, Shereen Brown, has announced a 5 and Thrive initiative, which increases focus and attention on the top 5 quality of life challenges military families face. And if I may, number 2 on that list is education. Education has always maintained to be in the top 3 priorities of Big Air Force and for their families. It's critically important. And the relationship that we have here with our Bossier Parish Public School System and our military families that we don't even realize are in our schools every day, but our school system does. We need to maintain and sustain the quality education that we have so that we can continue to send this future workforce out into the world and hopefully stay home and become that productive citizen that we're needing right here in Bossier Parish. I too want to say we appreciate the timeline of this, the transparency that the school system has given all of us. We began these conversations last fall. So it's not anything new to us. I've been very open and inclusive, and we appreciate that as the business community and as your partner as well. So I just wanted to come up here and say thank you. Don't really have any specific questions. I do have our resolution that was passed unanimously, as mentioned earlier, by our board of directors, if anyone is interested in a copy of that. But this, again, as the executive director, the president of the Bossier Chamber of Commerce, in concert with our board of directors who unanimously support this, we want to say that this is critically needed and to maintain and sustain our school system as we have it today and the great products that you all produce in our children.
Thank you very much for your comments. And we also thank the Bossier Chamber of Commerce again for your endorsement. You mentioned Barksdale. 10% of our student enrollment is comprised of military-connected students. So we take that charge very seriously in educating our military-connected children. Yes, sir.
My name is Charles Rowe. I am also a product of the Bossier school system, Waller Elementary, Russian, and Bossier High. So I've been around here a long time, and I would amen a lot of what that first gentleman spoke up here. It's no secret that you guys put these tax renewals in the spring when there's only very few people that come out, and the advocates, of course, flood the rolls, and so that's why you get your tax renewals. I've got some questions. Ms. Roger, I've got some questions in connection with this millages. I'm somewhat confused.
Ms. Bamberg, our Chief Financial Officer?
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Ms. Bamberg, yeah.
Sure.
In your prior responses to that prior gentleman, you were talking about the millages were rolled forward?
We did not roll forward in 2020.
Okay. What about the millages that are proposed on this renewal?
This is that same millage that was not rolled forward. It's not an increase from what was assessed.
But in this instance, if the property is appraised at a higher value, then I will pay a higher tax, will I not?
Yes, sir.
All right. So it's somewhat disingenuous when you talk about there will be no increase in tax. You do say tax rate, but you don't emphasize that. So that's important to know that my taxes are going to go up. Assuming that Mr. Edmondson does his thing, which he does every 4 years. The Barksdale Schools, are they building schools at Barksdale?
No, sir.
They're not?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Seeing this and seeing your presentation about all the laudable things that Bossier Parish does with their schools, and I would commend the school system. I'm not against the school system. I'm all for the school system and a quality school system. What I don't understand is why I don't see anything about cutting things. I don't see anything. You talk about the budget for the maintenance, and that's laudable. I don't see anything about any other programs cutting at all. I don't see the taxpayer mentioned here at all. And I just do not understand why you have to, this millage is over 20 years, and you haven't ever cut it. Why not?
I can answer that.
Please.
Mr. Downey, if you could come up to the microphone for live stream audience, if you don't mind.
The millages were originally funded or presented to maintain salaries of teachers and employees. And the public has an opportunity every 10 years to renew those. But they were never intended to be done away with at the end of the 10-year period. That just go back to the public for to reaffirm the effect that they're having.
Could you not have less millages? Couldn't you cut it down to 5 or 7?
Well, I guess that depends on what do you want to cut. Do we want to cut school safety? Do we want to cut instruction? Do we want to increase the ratio of students to teachers? I mean, I think that the school system, long before I got here, was doing a great job, and my question would be, what do you cut?
Well, that would be up to you in charge and your subordinates about what you would cut.
Well, I think you would have to determine, my approach would be, you cut the things that are not being effective and the things that are not important to children and families.
Okay, so you had the opportunity to cut millages, but you chose not to, is what the bottom line is.
No, sir, that's not what I said. Ms.
Well,
Bamberg said we did not roll the millage forward in 2020.
I'm talking about on these renewals. Didn't you have an opportunity to lessen the millages?
If we wanted to have a reduction in force of teachers and increase the student-teacher ratio.
About something that alarmed me a few years ago, and I don't recall all the details, but it was concerning Green Acres Middle School, and my granddaughter was going there, and at the time, and there was something about the school lunch program. It was decided that everybody was going to get the free lunch if they wanted it. Do you recall that, sir?
No, sir.
Did anyone recall that? That they were going to make sure that they didn't have to.
Are you talking about the CECP program where we have every student eats free in that school?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We implemented the CECP program several years ago. And currently, under the pandemic and under the current funding, every student in the parish is able to eat free.
I don't understand that when my granddaughter nowhere near needed that help. Well, why do we give it to people that don't need it?
Yes, sir. I do understand your concern. I really do. I can tell you that bucket and those decisions are in a completely separate fund, and they are not a part of this current tax renewal. The current CECP program is federally designed and guided. We have the ability to apply for that. As a district, we feel the need to apply for it because it allows for low-income students, every low-income student, and it's able to help better feed, and there's a whole lot better participation in those schools. So as a district, we applied for the ability for all the schools that qualified to be able to feed every student free because, and there's all kinds of guidance on it that, a full student is one that's going to pay attention in class and is going to learn better, right? So as a district, we wanted, if we could feed every student free, that's what we wanted to do. So we've continued to expand that CECP program to be able to feed more and more students free at no cost coming out of the parent's pocket. And as I said, under the current pandemic, we're able to feed the entire district free. That is under a whole separate federal funding. It's tracked in a different fund, and that doesn't have anything to do with this current renewal.
I understand that.
Yes, sir.
But the point is.
Yes, sir.
Is that government never gets filled up. You always want more. It's never enough. And it just gets old when you see nothing decreased in expenses here. It's always increasing in expenses, and I don't see, I object to that. Now, I do want to, I know these millages are for benefits as well.
Yes, sir.
And I know this is from the state. But one way that you could cut a lot of money out that's going out is to change from in the retirement system, from a defined benefit to a defined contribution, which most of corporate America does all across the country. And I know that there would be a stampede to Baton Rouge if that was contemplated, and they've attempted it in the past. And I know that there's been objection from the public service people, and I understand why.
Yes, sir.
If the people understood this drop program,
Yes, sir.
that is outstanding, the people would rise up if they understand what that does and how it gives a lot of money to public employees.
Yes, sir.
And I resent that, quite frankly.
I can appreciate that concern. Currently, I don't have any ability to change that because of the legislative law.
I understand.
But yes, sir, I do agree. A defined contribution plan is a lot less costly. The liabilities are lower typically than a defined benefit plan. And yes, sir, I can agree with that.
All right. Well, you know, I know I'm in the minority, the vast majority, and that's okay.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate Ms. Bales having the opportunity to speak my piece here in a civil way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have time for, well,
I'll just ask a couple of quick questions because I know you're trying to limit it. The one thing I would recommend that you do is go ahead and Superintendent Downey, the legislative audit report is not referenced on the website. You can't find it. You have to, so it's very hard to go find the financials for the school system. I recommend that you put a link to that on your website. I think it'll help a lot of people. And also, I'll tell you that Ms. Bamberg answers on the second ring. She's very available, so I appreciate you taking my call earlier this week. The only thing that I would recommend is, you know, I did a cursory review of the financials for the last 20 years, or actually 10 years, and I just recommend that you look at the tooth to tail, what we call tooth to tail in the military, which is how much it costs for administrative support versus how much you're paying your teachers. You know, the one thing that I found in looking at that is actually if you look at a 2% inflation over the last 9 years, and I discounted 20 and 21 because it's an anomaly. I don't know how y'all ever figure that out. But when you look at all those last 9 years, the amount that we're paying for instruction, even though in the regular programs, special programs, and other instructional programs, that's actually gone down if you include the 2% inflation. So, and I know that can be managed by how many people you put in a classroom and other things, so it's a mishmash of different things. But the thing that I would look at is that student services, instructional staff support, and general administrative support have gone way up above inflation. So I think that as good stewards of the constituents or the local population's money, I'd just be careful about that because we've been lucky that we've had relatively stable economic times, but right now the way the petroleum industry is being hit, we like to talk about the growth of Bossier City, but actually when you look at the economic numbers, and I'll compliment the school board's financial report because you have some of the best economic data other than maybe the Chamber of Commerce, that you can get in the community, and I really appreciate it. It's a great report. I recommend that anybody go and look at it, but all the information that I looked at was off the 2020 legislative audit agency, and I will be talking to you more, but I really do think that if the general public, if they know that you're tooth to tail, or the teachers are getting the bulk of the support, that most people will support it, and I support the millage.
And you bring up a great point, Mr. Crockett. Propositions 1 and 3, none of the funds go to administrative salaries.
Right. I realize. We'll come back to you with that, because if this was not passed, you're not going to reduce the teachers' salaries. We'll always pay our teachers, and everybody in this community is going to figure out how to pay them the salary. They're not overpaid. So thanks a lot. And thank you so much for having the town hall. I think we ought to have more town halls rather than less, and you did a great job putting this together.
Thank you so very much. Ms. Royer, you'll be the last question. We have a school board meeting that starts in 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll make it quick. I worked for the Bossier School Board for 42 years, and I've seen a lot of changes for improvement. Nobody realizes when I went to school, we didn't have all these special needs kids. We didn't have all the problems that the kids have now. We have new schools, new programs for these kids that need the extra help. And it calls for special teachers and special bus drivers and special custodians, and everybody has to work together. And now, I was from Webster Parish, so was his superintendent. When I was in Webster Parish, our school was one of the top-rated schools. Now it's at the bottom because I got a report the other day, and Webster Parish was almost at the bottom. It didn't even show Bossier Parish, so I wonder where they showed 50 parishes and left Bossier Parish out altogether. But I have to give credit for Bossier Parish for keeping up with all the new problems and everything we're faced. And every day there's something new. You find a cure for one thing, you're going to have something else happen. And it's happening to kids that need the extra attention and help. And we appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Royer, for your comments. Okay. Well, we want to thank everybody for coming out here today for our town hall meeting. Again, we hope that it has been informative. If you have additional questions, you can call us at any time, 549-5000, and our receptionist will direct your call to the appropriate person, and we will get back with you and get answers for you. Again, April 30th is the election, early voting April 16th through the 23rd, excuse me. So we hope that everybody will get out and let their voice be heard.